In this lesson, we'll learn how to animate a layer using keyframes in the video timeline. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we have the two clips from lesson 2 of our turtle swimming and of our beach scene. And if you recall, I trimmed down that turtle clip and we also added some nice transitions on both clips. So what we'd like to do is continue to add some visual interest to our little tropical themed video project by animating in a logo. And so you may have noticed we have a clip right here titled Logo that sits above our video group 1 in our timeline panel. Let's go ahead and turn on the layer for this clip in our layers panel, turning on the visibility of that, and we'll drag our current time indicator over that clip. And so this is Papa's Surf Shop, created by our own Eddie Russell. And I'd like to animate this logo, having it starting out kind of small and then just getting larger over time. Okay, so before we can do that, we need to convert the layer containing this logo into a smart object. So let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm just going to right click on the layer titled Logo, and we're going to go to where it says Convert to Smart Object. And we can see that a little icon has been added into the thumbnail of that layer, indicating that it's now a smart object. So in the previous lesson, I mentioned how a smart object can allow us to basically free transform something continually without there being any loss in pixel quality. So in the case of this logo, we can shrink it down or size it up by free transforming it multiple times without there being any really bad pixelation or any loss of pixel quality. So with that said, let's now come down here to our timeline, and we're going to click on this little disclosure area right here on our strip containing our logo clip. And you'll notice how we have some different options here. One for transform, opacity, style, and each one of these has a little stopwatch button next to them. So we're just going to be focusing on transform, since we're going to basically be free transforming this logo, shrinking it down and sizing it up over time. So what we'd like to do first is I'm just going to drag my current time indicator to an area where I'd like my logo to basically complete its animation. All right, so probably right about there will be fine for the time being. I'm now going to hit Control-T on my keyboard, and we can see now that we're in free transform mode. I'm going to hold down Shift so I can preserve the overall proportions of the logo, and we'll just start to scale it down. So when the animation ends, I want it to probably be about this size, okay? So not as large as we initially had it. So I'm just kind of adjusting and positioning it to my liking. We'll go ahead and click on this check mark up here in our control panel and commit to that change. Okay, so now we're going to come back over here and we're going to click on this little stopwatch for transform. Again, we're transforming the overall size and position of this logo, and you'll notice how it drops a little keyframe right there where my current time indicator is. Okay, let's now drag our current time indicator back in time, and we're going to go ahead and free transform our logo again. We'll size it down, we'll move it over and commit to that, and another keyframe has been dropped. So what these keyframes do is that they basically remember the size and position of our logo at this point in time. Okay, so we can scrub between these two keyframes to kind of see that effect, that animation taking place. We can also hit play or hit the space bar on our keyboard to kind of see how that looks. That's looking pretty cool. We can also hit this little arrow right here, either one of these little side arrows, to snap our current time indicator to each keyframe, going backwards or forwards. And of course, if we want to adjust the overall timing in which this logo basically animates, we can move these keyframes. Basically, if we want it to happen a little bit slower, I may want to take this keyframe just out a little bit further. We'll go ahead and hit play again to kind of see how that's looking. That may be a little bit too slow, so we could always bring it down some. Okay, and so now again, the beauty of having this layer enabled as a smart object is we can come back in and free transform this logo as many times as we want. We feel like it starts off a little too small now. We could free transform it again, and we could just kind of tweak it a little bit. So really cool stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and start from the beginning of our animation and our beginning of our project, and we're just clicking play, and we just kind of can see how it's going to basically work with that animated logo. And so right now that logo kind of just appears very abruptly. So let's go ahead and add a nice little transition to kind of ease it in a little bit. So I'm going to come back here to this little button in our timeline that looks like a divided square. We'll click on that, and maybe we want to have it fade in a little bit. So just dragging that fade transition. Let's see what that looks like. And if we feel like the transition's too long, we can just click on it and shorten it. Very cool. Now you may notice that the logo just abruptly disappears. That's because of the length of this clip, right? That contains our logo. So what we can do is very simply extend it out. So just kind of hovering our cursor over the end, you'll notice how it changes. And so now our logo will remain on the screen until the end of the entire project as it plays all the way to the end. Okay, so really neat. So what we'd like to do in the next lesson is continue finishing out this little project here. We're going to add another level of visual interest to our logo itself. We're going to explore how we can incorporate a layer mask with our logo and use another video clip in with the logo. So stick around and we'll see you in the next lesson.